Okay, so we can see in our 3D view that after creating this slab that it is these walls do not go down there, and what we need to do then is lower the bottom of this by the same amount that this is lowered. So we can select that roof, we can copy that dimension, and then we can select these two walls, and now the base offset we can paste that same dimension, and that goes, those walls now go down to where they need to go. Now I'm going to finalize these fin walls. They go back, this one goes back over the patio for some dimension, so we can go into the second floor plan. One way to create a new piece of wall based on this old one is to select it, right click, and say create similar. You can do that with almost any element in Revit. And again, I am just going to place a wall, no particular place. Now I can use my align tool to align that wall. I can pull the edge of it out to meet this wall, and then I can drive that with a dimension, which according to my final deliverable is 13'4" overall. So I will select this wall and type 13'4". Its base constraint is not level 2 with a -8. It would be the top of concrete with a 0 offset. Now, to get the height to be the same as this piece, so the height of this is up to level 1, 33'4". So again, I can just copy those, come over here and say up to level 1, 33'4", apply, go to my 3D view, and that's what I should have now. Go back to my roof plan. Again, I can right click this, create similar, I'm going to ignore that error. I can flip that, because when I drew that wall I grabbed an inference from this wall, but I drew it counterclockwise essentially, and it put it to the wrong side. So now I can flip that, it's aligned. I can change this. The bottom is at the roof, and I believe these are correct, up to level top of parapet. I can check that in my 3D view, and they are in fact at the same height. Now the problem with these walls are, I want this wall to connect to this wall, but you can see that the end is actually in the middle of this wall, and the same thing here, but there's this blank space. So what's happening is it's automatically cutting out the center of the wall because this wall is interfering. So we can fix that by right clicking on the handle at the end and saying disallow join. And by doing that, we can now drag this thing out here, and it's not going to try to join this wall in the middle. If I go to my 3D view, that's what I see. Now the problem with that is it doesn't join this wall either, because we disallowed the join. But we can join them graphically using the join tool on the modified toolbar up here. And we click this wall, and it joins them and it gets rid of that line. So back to the roof plan, we are going to put in this wall, so create similar, roof level. This, however, is going to go up to the top of fin wall framing. And again, I'm just going to draw the wall, use my align tool, select this, disallow join, drag it down, check it out in 3D, and then use my modify join, click these two walls and they're joined. Now I can go back to my roof plan and make sure that they're the proper dimensions. I also forgot to delete this annotation, so I'll do that now as well. So at this point, the exterior of our building, the massing of our building, is essentially complete. This is also a good time now to let's go back to our first floor plan. We've got most of our annotations that go to the outside of the building on. We want to make sure that this fits on our sheet. So I'm going to go down here to Sheets. I'm going to create new sheet by right-clicking on Sheets, saying New Sheet. I'm going to choose my A220 11x17 title block hit OK. This we're going to rename A 2.1 first floor plan. I'm going to drag my first floor plan from my project browser onto my sheet. I've been lucky and I did not place any of these too far out, so it does fit on the sheet. If this doesn't work, we got to go back to our plan view and start modifying where all of our grid lines and dimensions are located so that it fits on a sheet. We can also go in and start editing. Let me turn thin lines off. I typically work with thin lines turned on. The command for that is TL, and it displays the lines very thin. If you display them with line weight, sometimes it's hard to actually see where the lines are meeting. So I usually turn this on when I want to see what it's going to print like. And I like to make a few adjustments to my dimensions. Again, when I have a dimension that doesn't fit between witness lines, I like to drag it out. I found that the default dimension style, these architectural tick marks are way too big. So what we can do is we can select this annotative, this dimension, and change, come up here to edit type. We can come down here and find tick mark in our graphics, and we can find a smaller diagonal. So there's a diagonal 3/64 of an inch, hit OK, and that changes all of our tick marks to be much smaller. I find that to look much better. We have an easier time getting our leaders out here without crossing the tick marks. This 47 feet is right on the line, so we can pull that off. I don't need a leader because it's still sitting on the line, so I can come over to my dimension style and turn that off. So these are sort of the final touches that you do after you get your drawing on the sheet. Even this, we could move this off just so that it doesn't touch that line. Turn off the leader. Makes it even clearer to read. This 1 and 2 bubble, they're very close together. So just like our levels, we can put a little elbow in here and move these out. We could probably actually move these dimensions in a bit. Move these out a bit. I know I have enough room on my sheet, and now I can put an elbow like that so that these aren't colliding into each other. The next task I'm going to complete is to put my columns in. Now if you look at the final deliverable, I've tacked a column schedule onto this last perspective sheet so that you can see the sizes of the columns. So here is B1. It's a hollow steel section 8 by 8 by quarter. So B1, and I know that also A1 is that same. So again, the way that columns work is they're structural elements, so they will be placed on the level below. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the roof plan. We're going to go to structure, column, and we're going to have to load these columns. So we're going to load family, go to my US Imperial folder. It should dump you there automatically. Go to structural columns, steel, hollow structural section, and hit open. And we had, oops, wrong PDF, 8 by 8 by quarter. So we scroll down till we find 8 by 8 by 1/4. And we load that. Now we have 8 by 8 by quarter here. Our level, we want these to go all the way down to level 1 because we're doing depth level 1. And these we simply find where the grid lines A1 and B1 meet. Now it's telling me you're drawing something that you can't see. I'm fine with that. I know again that these are going below my current view. I can go to my 3D view. Now the only problem now is I'm drawing within the building, so I can't see these columns. I can go to my first floor plan and these columns are showing up. Again, I'm going to switch back to thin lines, and I can see those columns. So I'm going to go back to the roof plan, go back to structure, column, and find the next size that I need, which is, according to our final deliverable, I have a lot of 12 by 53s, 12 by 65, and 12 by 40. So I'm going to go to load family. This time I'm going to choose wide flange. So I had a 12 by 40, 12 by 65, and 12 by 63. And I'm holding the control button to select all three of these, and they'll all be loaded in at the same time now. 12 by 53, and I'm going to use this here. So I have B2, D2, and C2. So B2, C2, and D2 for that, so on and so forth until I get all my columns in place. B2, D2, C2, B3, C3, D3. Wait, hold on. B3, C3. D3 is a 12 by 65. And then the rest are 12 by 40s. A3 is a 12 by 40. Now, because I placed all of my columns from the roof, this column here is going up too high. So we can change that so that its top level is the top of concrete here. Now the problem again with these columns is that they're going to the roof level. So that means they're coming through the roof. So what we can do is we can select these columns, and I'm doing this in the 3D view. You can generally select these just by getting your cursor right on the edge of the column as it comes through the roof. And I'm going to rotate around here, get all of these columns. I can barely just make out that one. And just like before with the wall, I can say attach top base, select the roof, and it moves the top of those columns down. And I'm going to do that for all of these. So if you kind of come in here to your 3D view and look around, you find these other columns. So attach top base to this slab, and then same thing with this column here, attach top base to this slab. These seem to have gotten placed in the wrong spot. Something's wrong here. I did not place those. Oh, you know what? I think something is wrong with my column line. So I'll have to fix that. So it's actually not my column line is correct. It's 1 foot 6, 4 feet. But this dimension here between this wall and this wall is supposed to be 4 feet. I made a mistake. I made it 5 foot 6. But again, because of Revit, all I've got to do is select this wall, change this dimension, and everything moves with it. I can look at my 3D view, this wall, and everything connected to it moves with it. That's the beauty of Revit. So we'll continue in the next video. I'll have to fix this one as well.